The answer to that that I would give is the one of Leibniz and essentially of optimism, which is simply that science and technology have repeatedly shown that
Malthus said by 1800 we would have a global collapse and everybody would die, basically.
John Maria Ortes, that he copied from, said that the absolute upper limit of the carrying capacity of the world is 3 billion. And he said this about 1790 in an essay on population. And Malthus simply took that. So the Malthusian argument is that the population outpaces food production. It's the opposite. Food production outpaces population as long as you simply allow science and technology to be supported. People are wealth. It was their whole approach is scientifically wrong, economically wrong. People are wealth, as Spanish. The Spanish tradition is gobernar es poblar. To govern is to populate. In other words, you want to be a competent government, you want to get anywhere, you've got to... well,
look at us now. I mean, they've done the actuaries. We're not going to be able to pay for the baby boomer aging population because they're not breeding. And they do the actuaries within another 50 years. I mean, it's total collapse. I mean, not even 50. This is all common sense, but you have this view, this feudal view, whether it was Japan, China, Europe, it's always the same tropism, as you put it, that they keep the serfs on 10% of the land. The serfs are starving to death because the elites like to keep them under their thumb. And so it's the same view. So they warp and develop modern sciences that ignore science and use these as preset ideas, and then everything else is spun around those lies.
Well, they hate science, and the history of the whole Royal Society, right, the British Royal Society, is they pretend to promote science. If discoveries are made, they try to pretend they discovered them, but mainly they try to sabotage them. The other thing is this mentality, and we mentioned Theodore Roosevelt. If you look at the American West, right, you fly out here, right, you look at some of these states, the ending of the frontier, right, the passing of the frontier between 1890 and 1900 in America is not, it's premature in the sense that we have a lot of states out here, right, Wyoming, Utah, right, they're basically empty. And the reason that they're empty is that the process of settlement and population growth was artificially stopped by people around Theodore Roosevelt, the great stooge of King Edward II.
Yeah, he sold, freeze the land, have the feds grab it, don't give the land to the people. Exactly. Raise taxes so they can't afford kids.
Gifford Pinchot, this guy, Gifford Pinchot, a key guy.
So he believes in the great supposed Anglo-Saxon, but he actually puts... Well, that's the thing about these eugenicists. They always talk about how great the Germanic or Anglo-Saxon system is, how it's wonderful, but then it's a schizophrenic policy because then they seem to target their supposed own group. What is that?
A good example, back in this Boer War period, right? The first concentration camps of the 20th century, death camps, in effect,
were Afrikaners.
The British putting these Dutch in concentration camps, and you go to them and say, what sense does this make, right? You claim to be a race theorist, but you're putting these Dutch in a concentration camp here in the middle of Africa. What sense does it make? In other words, it's a fraud. In other words, it's ultimately only designed to serve imperial power. What they were concerned about in the case of the United States, the Homestead Act is one of the greatest land reforms in human history, right? The idea that you got this immense expanse and you're going to make that into family farms. And the British and the oligarchs say, no, we don't want that because such people are going to be independent-minded. They're not going to take over.
They already had the experience with the British colonies here in North America, and this is the essence, and now they see the rebellion. They see people becoming independent. They see the moves out west to take the 80% of the land held by the feds of the states and serve it out to the people.
Or these ideas that you're going to cut off water to a whole important farming area.
Klamath Falls, Oregon.
Which is simply...
for some fish that isn't even indigenous.
Yeah, the snail darter.
Stay there. We're going to come right back. The essence of the enemy.